Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Choma of Choma Stitches. So today we are going to be using the pattern, the Princess Bustier pattern we drafted in our previous class. We're transferring to fabric and we're trying to use it to make a gown. So if you have not seen that video, I'm going to leave the link in the description box below so you can go ahead and check it out so that you see how we made this pattern, how we drafted this pattern. Also, I am also going to put the link to the sleeve we are going to be using for this class. The sleeve pattern, the basic sleeve pattern, I'm going to put leaving the link in the description box so you can also check it out. And if you have not subscribed to my channel, please don't forget to subscribe and give this video a thumbs up if it happens to be of help to you at the end of the day. And I will see you at the end of the class, so stay to the end of the class. All right, so as you can see, I've transferred it to fabric, and what you see here is the sewing allowances I've added on the sides. I have half an inch sewing allowance all around here, and I have half an inch on the top. I have quarter of an inch on the for the neckline, and half an inch all around all here, and half of an inch, 1.5 inch here, 1.5 inch here, okay, and then half an inch on top as well. So now I'm going to go ahead and cut out this pattern, and then I will show us how we are going to cut out our breast pad using our patterns. Okay, so I've cut out the pattern, and let me take out the pins, and then we'll try to mark out our bustier area. Now to mark out our breast pad. Now if you want to use an already made bra cup, you do not need to go ahead and do this marking I want to do right now. But of course, if you want to use a wadding, that's the breast pad that you're going to be creating yourself by sewing it to the fabric, then you can do this. Now for the center front, I have the markings I need from here, the top of the bust to this place. And then for the side front, this is the side front by the way, I have from here, this is the top of the bust from where this marking is, okay, and then up to the bust point. Now what about the side? Now to decide where you want the side of this to be, what I like to do is from the side here, from the armhole, I like to come in by 1.5 inch. Okay, now this 1.5 inch, you can decide to just mark it like so to meet here. Just make an arc and match the two lines from top of the bust to that place, and then from here you can decide to come here. You can come in here by say 2 inches and mark it, and then transfer the connect the two lines. You can use your ruler or you can use your hand to mark this to join. Now so this two piece is the pattern I need for the breast pad. So I'm going to place this on top of, I'm going to be placing this pattern I've drafted on top of the breast pad, and I'm going to cut it out. So these are the pattern for the bustier area, and what I'm going to do now is iron stay. This is what we call a stay. I'm going to iron it all over the front pattern before I will now iron the glue, this one on it. This one has glue on one side of it, so I'm going to place the side that has the glue on the fabric after I've ironed the stay, and I'll iron it as well, and then we'll start joining it. And to cut out the lower bodies, this lower bodies is going to be a 180 degrees flare. So see, I folded it, look at it, and I folded it into a triangle like so, as you can see. And this side is the zip allowance that I added, is like 1 inch, and this other side it's the front parts. Okay, and I folded it into a triangle. As you can see, this is the edge of the Ankara. Okay, so to get my waist measurement, to measure from the top here to get where the waist measurement is going to be. So for a 180 degrees flare, to get the waistline from the top here, you add your waist measurement plus your sewing allowance. You can also add your zip allowance, your zipper, but I've already marked out my zip allowance here, so I don't need to add it again. So I'm going to be adding the waist measurement, that is 32 inches plus 2 inches for the side allowance. Okay, now divided by 3.14. So I have 34 inches divided by 3.14, and I have 10.8 as the answer. So from here I am going to measure down and to 10.8 inches. So I am going to be marking this all the way. Okay, so I've marked it, and I also extended this my 0.8 to the zip allowance. So now from this waistline, from this place, I can now mark out the length of the lower bodies of this gown. Okay, and the length of the lower bodies that I will need is 26 inches. So from here, I am going to be measuring 26 inches. Now, I'm seeing that I'm going to be using half an inch on the top here as this joining allowance to join the lower bodies to the upper bodies. I'm going to be marking um that will make it 26.5 inches, and then I'll be needing 1 inch for the base for the hem to hem the edges. That will be 27.5 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and mark out 27.5 inches. So this is it from here, from this top all the way down here. This is the full measurement of this. I'm just going to go ahead and cut it out. Okay, so I have it like so. So I'm going to do the same thing for the lining piece. I'm going to cut this exact measurement for the lining piece. And then here is the upper bodice. I have ironed the stay on it, and I have equally ironed the wording on it. I'm going to go ahead and start sewing, and then so I am going to sew. So I'm going to go ahead and sew starting from here. I'm going to sew here, starting from the top all the way until I get the down. I'll sew it for this and sew the lining pieces, and then I'll come back and show us how we're going to join the upper bodies and the lower bodies together. Let's mark out as our sleeve. Okay, so to cut out the sleeve pattern, this is a sleeve pattern we have already drafted. I am going to be leaving the link in the description box, the link to how we drafted this sleeve. So this sleeve, as you can see, it has it has this place written as F, and this is B. This is the back part of the sleeve, and this is the front part of the sleeve. So the design I want to add to this dress, I am going to be using the lace piece to add it, and that the design is also going to extend all the way to the sleeve. And for this, I want to join this together, not for any other cause, but because I want to use it to cut out the lace piece. Okay, so let me fold the lace piece. Okay, I'd like the sleeve to be an extension of the lace piece we're going to be adding to the bodies. That's why I'm folding the sleeve to match the body, so I can mark it and use that marking to cut out the sleeve. Okay, so now that I've marked the where I want the sleeve to start from the bodies, I am going to go ahead and add my sewing allowance. Since the sewing allowance here is 1.5 inch, I have 1.5 inch here. I'm just going to come here and mark 1.5 inch as well. Okay, so I can cut it out. Okay, so I have a sleeve here. So this is it. I have, as you can see, I've sewn it. This is the inside, well padded and neatly ironed, and this is the outer part. See the way the cup is standing on its own. Okay, so now it's time to alter it, and I've also taken out the darts for the back piece and ironed it too. So like I said, it's time to add the design on the front. So I'm going to be placing it on one side on fold. That way when I open it after cutting it out, I am going to get it the same thing. So I'm folding the lace piece and I'm placing it from the middle. And so this is going to be, the plan is to make it like a V shape. It's going to have a V shape, and it's going to start from the side. And this is why I try to join the sleeve first, because I want it to have the same line with the sleeve when we are done. And so this marking I made on the sleeve, I am going to try and transfer this marking, or I can make another one. Okay, so now I am slanting this. to stop here, this middle, this is the middle, and I'm going to be slanting this like so to get here. So it's going to come this way. If you can see, it's going to come this way. So I'm going to cut out this piece. So let me just pin it down, pin the middle, and then start to cut it. I'm just going to find the middle here. Okay, this is the middle here, middle, and now I am going to be using my marker. I'm going to use my chalk to just mark, trace out the marking. And the same way I've traced it like this, I'm going to take out the pins. Okay. So I'm opening it up so I can also mark this place. Okay, now noting that this place is not going to stay perfectly because there are darts taken out under here. So I am going to be opening these places up. I'm going to open these places up and I will take out darts here so that when I pin these together they will lap. Okay, I'm going to take out darts here. So I'm cutting it exactly at the place where I'm supposed to take out the darts. As you can see, I'm making cuts. So I'm going to sew these places back. I am going to sew them with 1/2 inch on both sides. So when you sew this 1/2 inch, it's going to help this pattern to lap on the body. So I'm going to sew the 1/2 inch, and then I'll come back and show us how to pad it. And then for this side, now the dart, there's also a dart on this side of the sleeve. As you can see, I'm also going to take out the dart. So I'm going to come here and open it up a little bit as well. This opening is just my guide. I'm going to take out the darts on this side as well. I'm going to take out darts there. I'll mark the same thing here as well. And I'm going to take out that here. So now I can take out this whole pattern. And when you look at it, you see this opening here. You see this one over here. See the opening on the armhole here. Another opening on this other armhole. So I am going to go ahead and take out that here, and take out that here, and take out that here, take out that here as well, and here. So let me go ahead and take out this dart, and then we'll continue. I've taken out the darts. See, I've taken out all the darts at the strategic places. I marked it out. So this is it. The dress now has a structure. Okay. So the lace now has a structure, and placing it back here, it will be more relaxing because it now has that will enable it to have the same shape with the bodies. So it can now cover the bodies the way it's supposed to, and it's more relaxed. Alright, so I've pinned it completely on the body. I had to pin it all around. And I would like to make the V more obvious, so I'm going to be trimming it out a little bit, cut out the sides to make the V shape more obvious. Okay, so I'm just going to take my scissors and cut it out on both sides. So as you can see, the V shape is now more obvious, and what I'm going to do now is use a bias to sew it. I'm going to use a bias to sew it on both sides, and then when I'm done sewing it once, I am going to top stitch it to keep it in place so it doesn't shred. I have used the bias to sew it once, as you can see. Now I want to top stitch it, but first I'm showing you the joining where both bias meet. I'm just going to sew. I sewed it there to give it a V shape, and now I'm going to go ahead and cut out that piece before I can now fold the pieces back like so. I'm going to fold it in the way you hem the edge of a fabric, fold it in, and then I'm going to top stitch on top of it. And I'll do the same thing even at the middle, the part that is V-shaped. So let's get to it, and then we'll see the outcome. So I've gone ahead to sew it and top stitch it. As you can see, I've top stitched it. Once you iron it, now it's going to come out looking clean. And if you see this from afar, you would not know there's a fabric holding it down here. But of course, there are different ways you can achieve the same thing, but this is one of the methods. So you have seen this and you can practice it, or adopt this design, this style for yourself. Okay. All right. So now I am going to be sewing the neckline. I'm going to be sewing the neckline using the lining piece. I'm going to do the same thing for the back pieces. I'm going to go ahead and join the necklines as well. I've taken out the darts of the back pieces as well. Okay, so I have sewn the neckline. As you can see, I've used the lining piece to conceal the neckline. I've done the same thing for the back pieces. So now I want to attach the lower bodies, the flare, to the upper bodies. Okay, and to do that I also want to include the net piece. Now this is because this net piece is going to help give the dress some volume, and that's what we are looking for. I have two pieces here. These are the pieces for the back. So I'm going to be attaching this to the main fabric, and so this is it. So this is the piece for the back piece. I'm going to be placing it like so. Let me take out this one. So I'm placing this here like this. It's supposed to come here like this, obviously. And so I am going to take one of the nets, and I'm going to be attaching it as I go while I'm sewing it. I'll be attaching it while I am sewing it. So I'm just going to keep gathering it as I sew it on the machine. I'm going to keep sewing it together until I get to the end. Okay, that way when I sew the lining piece is going to conceal all of this net and whatever action is going on here. The lining piece will conceal it from the other side. So I'm going to go ahead and sew this, and I will sew it for both the two pieces of the back piece and for the front piece. Now, if at the end of the day, the fullness I get from this with the net I've added, if after sewing this tool does not give me the fullness I need, if it's not enough, I may have to add another layer to it. So I'm going to have to add extra layer to it and to give it until it gets the fullness that I expect or I want from it. So let me get to it and sew it. I'll show us the sewing process. So I've placed it. This is the right side of the upper bodies and this is the right side of the lower bodies, and I'm going to hold it down. I might as well run this a straight stitch first, hold this one down first before I attach the two. So I've sewn it. I've sewn the lower bodies. Now I'm going to attach the tool, and like I said, I am going to pleat the tool as I go. So I'm going to place it here. Now the beginning, I will not pleat the beginning because the beginning is where we are joining for the side seam allowance. And then to be sure I even out the spread of this, I'm going to first find the middle, and then I will find the middle of this one too. I will pin it middle to middle. And now that I have pinned it down, I can now gather what is left here to meet the Ankara. So this is it. Okay, I've sewn the first half. Now I'm going to sew the second half. And also at the beginning here, I am not going to sew it because this is where we attach the zip. So we don't need that place to be puffed up or to have too much volume that will not affect when you are sewing the zip. Okay, so now that I have added this layer, let's see what we have. So this is it. I think this is okay. Doesn't have to have too much layer. I think this is all right. So I'm going to go ahead and repeat the same thing for both the front piece and the other part of the back piece. And then when I sew the inner lining on it, I'm going to sew the inner lining in reverse so that it's going to cover the net that is in between. So the net will now be in between the main fabric and the lining piece. Okay, so I have completely sewn it. As you can see, the dress has a lot of volume right now. So I have sewn it. I sewn the front and the back pieces, and this is the back piece. I've pinned the two of them together, and I want to take measure of the length of my zipper and know where the zip can get to. So I'm seeing that the zip can get here, so I'm going to hold this place down with 1 inch, which is the required zip allowance. So I just continue sewing the 1 inch zip allowance we added to the back piece and sewed it to the down part. Okay, now it is time to attach the zipper. I'm sewing the zip with the 1 inch seam allowance that we added. And so I continued sewing it with the 1 inch seam allowance, and as I went ahead, I just kept pinning it at every point. I will pin it, and then pinning it also very important. It helps to keep the fabric steady while you sew. I am done sewing it. Let me pull back this part. So I'm going to go ahead and sew the other side of the zipper off camera. I believe you guys know how to attach zip. Okay, so I have also sewn this one, obviously, and so now I want to join the shoulders so that we can start sewing the bodies. I've completely attached the zip, as you can see. So I'm just joining the shoulder the way you would normally join a shoulder for a dress that has a full lining. You know, when there is a complete lining, you can conceal the shoulder sewing inside one of the lining piece. That's what I'm doing right now. Alright, so now I have sewn the shoulders. I've sewn both shoulders. It's time to attach the sleeve, the lace sleeve to the dress. So when I cut out this sleeve, I had to also indicate where the front and the back piece is following the pattern. So I went ahead and trimmed this side to give it the slopiness that the front part of the sleeve has. Okay, so this part is going to be our front piece. So I'm just going to transfer this pin from the paper to the lace piece, and then I am taking out one of them so I can just start sewing the sleeve and following the way I've marked it out. Okay, that pin helps me to mark where the front part of the sleeve is. So I take the center of the sleeve and I pin it to the center of the shoulder joining, and then I start sewing the sleeve from one end of the sleeve, one end of the armhole to the other end of the armhole. And so look at this, I have already sewn one part of the sleeve. I'm going to go ahead and sew the other part of the sleeve, and then we can now start sewing the sides together. Okay, so I have attached the sleeve, as you can see, and this is the front part, and here is it. So this is the layer. See, the net is in between the lining piece and the main fabric. Okay, and this is the back. This is the back piece. So what I'm going to do now is hem the edge of the sleeve. I'm going to fold it in twice to keep it neat, and then I am going to turn this inside out. I'm going to turn it to the wrong side and hem the sides and sew the sides to the end, and then I'm going to hem the edges, iron it, and put it on the mannequin for us to see. Also, don't forget to do your inner weavings to weave the rough edges so that they will stay clean. Okay guys, so this is the finished work. It came out very beautiful. It's perfect, like it's beautiful. All right, but now what I want to show us basically is the sleeve. As you can see, the sleeve, I did not hem the sleeve again. All right, the sleeve is no longer hemmed, but this is what I'm going to do. I want to follow the pattern of this the petals. I'm going to follow the pattern of the petals, and I'm going to trim it out like so. Let me just show us what I'm talking about. Do it as I am saying it. So I'm going to gently follow this pattern to trim out the 1 inch that I would have been taking out. Now look at this. Look at the finished edge this thing is giving. It's final like this. So this is how I am going to leave the finish it off. So cut it neatly and maybe use the candle to burn the edges later so it doesn't shred. So I'm going to just do one in front of the camera to show us, and I'm going to go ahead and do the rest off camera. All right, so here this is a neatly cut out sleeve. So this is how I would rather have the sleeve instead of folding it. Hemming it was not going to be a good idea. It didn't come out nice, so I had to loosen it out so I can do this. So I can trim out the edges instead. So I'm going to repeat this thing. Now look at the difference between this place and this place. That's a lot of difference. And of course this length matches with the length of the lace piece we added in front. That is one of the reasons why we had to do it as well. So it will match the length. I was supposed to fold it, hem it to get here. So this is what we are looking for. It's supposed to give this effect as if the lace went from here all the way to this place. So when someone wears it, it's going to give that effect. All right. So guys, at this point, if you have not subscribed to this channel, please go ahead and subscribe and turn on your notification bell so that whenever I drop a new video, you'll be the first to be notified. And of course, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, share it as well if you can, and let's keep giving you beautiful and wonderful content like this. I'll see you in my next sewing tutorial. Bye.